So that means at hour number 2, we get to check on what's going on in the USL, and we're also checking a review off a corner. And they're checking a handball, it looks like, inside the 18 on the United States. And it looks like it should not be a handball because it's in the crook of the arm right here. So that's what we're staring at on the video review. They're calling it a VS review, video system review, I guess. I would say that the contact was made here. So we will see what the VAR has for the U.S. as that is being reviewed inside the box. We're going to bring in Kaylor after we get the VS review instead of the VAR. So we have a whistle, we have the monitor, and the explanation to both coaches, and I'm not going to run the audio because that might get us in trouble. And it looks like in the 17th minute, doesn't look like the Czech coach is happy. We're going to do it again. I don't know. Who knows? Let's bring in Kaylor. All right. So Kaylor was playing with cables and things. He was trying to make sure that everything was fine. So the VS review, as they're calling it, video system review, no penalty inside the 18. So we're still goalless. U.S. and Czechia in the late 17th minute. There we go. Hi, Kaylor.
Hey.
Oh man. Yeah. So we're watching the U17s, which you have a vested interest in as well, in the state of Alabama.
Yep.
And so right now the U.S. and Czechia are goalless, 18th minute, last day of the group stage in Qatar, the U17 World Cup. Reason that we bring you on this time of year every week is to break down everything in USL Championship now that we have had yet another round of the postseason competition. And I guess we should start with Rhode Island, because it seems like every single postseason that we've had Rhode Island just continues to win and work their way forward to the last match of the year. This year, once again, no different.
Yeah, I mean, this year they're doing it in a way we didn't really see last year, which was just being rock solid defensively. This year, they just really shored up the back line. There's a reason why Coque Vegas finished second in Golden Glove, right? That back line has just been rock solid all year. Where's the scoring going to come from? Well, when you get a guy like who has goal scoring pedigree, but has not quite found the right footing out of Rhode Island after 2 years, you can still see why they bring a guy like him in. He's able to get a goal off of a header, and the second goal is a bit fortuitous where Simla is just telling everybody to get up, plays it short. I couldn't really tell from the replays if it was a bad pass or if the center back just didn't receive it well. I'm not sure which one it was. Either way, it finds it to the foot of Alberdiqua once again, slots it to the near post from about 45 yards away. Rhode Island looks like a team who can really ride a defense into a final. The only issue is they're playing Pittsburgh, the team known to do that.
Yep. And first thing I think of legitimately, there are two things I think of when I think of with Pittsburgh. I think of Bob Lilly, obviously in defense, and I think of Bob Lilly yelling at his players after the lights went out in a stadium when they were playing Atlanta United 2 a handful of years ago. We had done our post game. We packed up. We were leaving. Lights were off at the baseball stadium. Bob Lilly, you could still hear him yelling in short field at his players after the Atlanta United 2 Pittsburgh match a handful of years ago. Those are the things that stick in my head where Bob Lilly is concerned.
For people who may not necessarily believe that story because it sounds exaggerated, because why would you believe that? We did a watch along a few months ago on the USL show, and we talked to Hugh Roberts, and he pops onto the show and he starts telling us that same exact story.
Wow.
And he was like, you guys are not going to believe this. And I was like, funny enough, I think every time I talk about Bob Lilly with Mr. John Nelson, that does get brought up. So I do believe it.
It's just, it's wild that that those two things stick with Bob Lilly, but he is Pittsburgh soccer. When you think about everything outdoors in Pittsburgh soccer. Obviously, those of us of a certain vintage remember indoor game and stuff, but Bob Lilly and Pittsburgh outdoor soccer synonymous with the growth of the USL and with growth in Pittsburgh and in that area. So, I mean, he's one of the folks that you cannot leave out of a conversation when it comes to the growth of the USL.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to ask this question on the USL show later tonight.
Oh, okay.
Does Pittsburgh reaching to their first ever conference final, does this hurt Bob Lilly's legacy? I mean, he's on administrative leave. He has not been the coach for about 2 months now, maybe just a month, and they go on their first ever playoff run. And in the end, this is still a Bob Lilly team. It still has Bob Lilly makeup.
Right.
But he's no longer in charge, and they make their first conference final. Does this weirdly damage his?
I don't know if it necessarily damages the legacy per se, but I think what it does do is it focuses on how they're navigating now, if that makes any sense. And I think what they're doing, what Bob Lilly did to set up the team to get them to this point from a couple of months ago, and now how they're navigating after. I don't think it necessarily damages or dings him, but I think it does force folks to sit there and look at the other assembly of all of the other pieces that are key to the success in Pittsburgh, I think.
Well, I mean, it's really interesting because really the biggest difference that I'm seeing between Vincent and Lilly is that Vincent is just letting Danny Griffin just do whatever he wants. It's like, as long as you loosely stay in the midfield, you don't even have to do that. But as long as you loosely stay in the midfield, just do whatever you want, do your thing. You're one of the best players in the league. And it's worked really well. Also, the emergence of Charles All this year has been really cool. We were talking about him, and when Portland took on Pittsburgh, we took our trip up to Portland.
Right.
And we were telling everybody, hey, this is probably going to be a moment where Charles All is going to get a start. Just watch him. We understand it's Portland. It's a League One side, although they end up winning that match. It's like, yes, it is a League One side, but like, watch Charles All. He's a special talent. And he's a key reason why they end up getting a win. While, yes, it was 0-0, went all the way to penalties, Charles All had the biggest chances of the night, aside from Augie Williams pushing a player down and then scoring a header. Well, that is what it is. He was able to create some of the better chances of the night. And that's with him playing on the opposite side of a Robbie Mertz, someone else who has been known to take over this league at times. When you think of Pittsburgh in the midfield, you think of Danny Griffin, you think of Robbie Mertz, add Charles All to that conversation, and you have a lethal midfield trio.
You mentioned a word that has always not been related to Bob Lilly and the success in Pittsburgh. And it's freelancing. I mean, Bob Lilly has a strict structure, and it's like, this is going to be this way. And it is about as rigid as your stereotypic drill instructor, Arlie Ermey in Full Metal Jacket. That's what you think of when it comes to Bob Lilly and what he wants to do in Pittsburgh. You're locked in. It is this way, and there is no string. You are coloring inside the lines with a Bob Lilly coloring book all the time. There is no room for any kind of artistry, nothing outside the lines, nothing that is an atypical color. It is this way. But now it's like, I think that they should be wearing this color, and you're taking the colors out of the coloring box, the crayon box, and you're sitting there and you're having fun with it.
Yeah, and in the end, I mean, you still have a very Bob Lilly backline. That is not going to change no matter what. I mean, you have Edrak, you have Suber, you have Biasi, who have been great. Eric Dick is just absolutely rock solid in the net. I mean, you have players who are just, okay, this back line is going to work. They're going to do their thing. Even look at what you would call wing backs, possibly midfielders, depending how they're used, like a junior ed, Pierre and Barnes. Those are players that they're going to work their absolute socks off. Same thing with Sample. Sample is getting up into the attack more and more. In fact, he almost scores within 2 minutes of the game starting. But he is going to be defensively better than almost anybody else in the midfield that you're going to see in the playoffs, maybe barring someone like a Pierre for Tulsa, which depending on how they want to play him, either as a center back or as a defensive midfielder, you're not going to see many other players who are going to be that solid in that kind of situation. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they go, especially against a Rhode Island team who they have a Zach Harivo, who can do the same thing, very similar in that sense. But are they going to stick with someone like a Sanchez, who's going to be on that left wing back, who played really well versus North Carolina? Or are they going to bring back Quizera, who got a red card versus Charleston? Are they going to bring him back into the fray? If I'm being honest with myself, if Connor Smith is bold, Sanchez, I think I liked more what I saw out of Rhode Island with Sanchez. But how do you drop someone like a Quizera from the team? If I think the safe choice for Cano is to go with Quizera, because if it doesn't go well, he won't have to face the media on that, basically.
Mhm.
But I think if he's making the right choice, in my opinion, I think he goes with a Sanchez. And then you're seeing how will this with a Sanchez, a Fuson, players like a Holstad, who's going to be able to play out wide but tuck inside and is willing to have a shot from anywhere. This is a really fascinating match for, I think, everybody involved, because I don't know if Pittsburgh has what it takes to get a goal from the run of play.
Yeah.
Augie Williams isn't one of the best strikers to ever play in this league. There's no doubt about that. But for some reason, the finishing boots have just not been there all year long. Rhode Island has been more than happy to grind out 120 minutes and go to penalties.
Mm-hmm.
They have been more than happy to do that. They trust who they have in Coque Vegas in net in these situations. But so does Pittsburgh with Eric Dick.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is fascinating to see if both teams just want to grind out a 0-0, or are they going to go for it, especially Pittsburgh, who is looking to break Highmark's attendance record again and see how it goes.
Eastern Conference, it is Rhode Island 2-0 winner over North Carolina FC. Let's put a bookmark here. We've talked about North Carolina FC and the story that is out, and now they're lying in wait for whatever the first division in USL is going to look like in 28. I have 11 gazillion questions about, not necessarily, but the first thing that I wanted to try to break things down with folks was the charter, where I think a lot of folks were surprised that they saw that North Carolina FC's, for lack of a better word, charter expires at the end of this year.
Mm-hmm.
To your knowledge, is it like an athletic scholarship where it is a one-year renewable thing, or is it over a block of time that you have this quote-unquote charter? Why is it expiring after this year? What's the setup in recognizing franchises in USL Championship?
Genuinely, I really don't know.
Okay.
This one of those things that they're kind of, and for obvious reasons, they're pretty secretive about. I'm sure if I asked the right people, I could find out.
Yeah.
But to me, it feels like something they probably just pay into every year, or they block out time and say, we're going to be here during this time.
Okay.
But when you consider the fact that someone like a Memphis 901 sold their rights over to Santa Barbara,
Right.
probably means that it's not just a year over year thing.
Okay. But
it's probably not that hard to twist the USL's arm and say, oh, yep, go on, we're going to come back for another year. Like, okay, great. We have stability.
Okay.
But it's also pretty up in the air, because you look at Northern Colorado and a Central Valley Fuego who get kicked out of the league.
Yeah.
So I really don't know how it works. It feels like that's just a part of the conversation, but I don't think that's a primary part of the conversation.
Right. And now they're lying in wait for the Division I aspect to kick in. And to me, I'm looking at this as, okay, you have to fix your stadium issue because you need to add 5,000 seats to something akin to a WakeMed. because right now I think Wake Med's capacity is 10.
Yes.
So you need to have at least 15 to satisfy Division I parameters. I don't know if that means that they're going to expand track 1 at Wake Med, if they're going
No,
to try and find their
they
own space.
they are. That was a part of it, is that they are looking to build a new stadium, which I there's a lot of reasons why that is just stupid.
Mhm.
First off, Wake Med has one of the best facilities that you're going to find in the USL. It's one of the better facilities in NWSL. They're willing to have TST there for a reason.
Yeah.
They are willing to have the NCAA tournament there every other year. They have the courage there for a reason. It is becoming a hotbed and one of the cornerstones of US soccer. Is just that good of a facility. The other part of this is owner tries to sell the club because it wasn't financially viable for him, and now he's saying, actually, let's build a stadium. And yes, the obvious plan here is we're going to try to make Raleigh build a stadium for North Carolina FC. That feels like the obvious thing.
Yeah.
But how are you going to look at the city of Raleigh and say, no, we promise this will be financially viable for you to pay this off? Don't look at the fact that I just shut down shop for 2 years because it was not financially viable. Don't look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Just build us a stadium. It's Looney Tunes to me.
And the other aspect in this, and this kind of goes to the conversation I want to have about rodeo coming up in a second, is the idea that it seems that there is a streak going here of franchises or groups being allowed into USL and their reindeer games if you have a stadium proposal that includes live, work, play. Literally, you've got to come to the door with a live, work, play idea for a multi-purpose facility stadium, and that's either got to be a part of your blueprint or that's a part of your deal from round number 1, is that this has to be the way. It sounds like that is part of this new idea, the new stadium idea involving Raleigh. Am I off in that, or is just that North Carolina wants a stadium and live, work, play hasn't been addressed, where it has been addressed with all the new guys coming in, but I haven't heard anything about it when it comes to the new Raleigh NCFC stadium.
I would look at what the USL's original plan was for, I believe it was 2019, 2020, where every club who was joining the USL Championship was required to have a stadium plan.
Mm-hmm.
That was their plan in 2020. Then things happened where that got in the way.
Yeah.
And so they weren't able to do that. This feels like they're finally implementing. You have to have an idea of what you want to do for a stadium. Either needs to be something that you can rent that's an actual stadium, no longer a baseball field. Hey, we'll talk about the West soon. And then, or you need to have something that's being built. Look at Portland. They have Fitzgerald, Fitz something, where they're selling it out. They had to expand it because they were selling too many tickets. Literally did not have enough tickets. They had to expand it. They have other stadium plans on the way. You have Rhode Island, who, yes, they came in with Bryant, but they actually had their own stadium on the way.
Right.
You see, oh my gosh, what is the team? It is Fort Wayne. They have their own mini Lynn family being built.
Right.
They have Boise with a stadium being built.
Mm-hmm.
All these teams have stadiums that are being built, and they have it prepared, ready to go. Even if they're not starting off there, they are going to have it. I think one thing with North Carolina that the USL may feel more comfortable with is that they do have their stadium in Cary.
Okay.
That even if they don't have the 15,000, they have somewhere to play. That's not a baseball field. That's not a turf pitch. It's a state-of-the-art facility. So they're probably more okay with just kind of sweeping that under and just moving on.
Okay. Western Conference, since you mentioned baseball fields, you've got the Lab, New Mexico United 2-1 winner over Orange County, and you have FC Tulsa 1-0 winner over Phoenix Rising. What sticks in your brain with these two matchups?
They were some of the best atmospheres I've ever seen in the USL. The lab is underrated. I think it's because it is a baseball field that people don't give it the credit that they deserve, but they are averaging almost 10,000, if not more, a game. And it's incredible. And it looked even better when they were playing Orange County. Then you look at One Oak Field, who, if they win, they host. Same thing for New Mexico, to be fair. If they win, they host. And they're not planning to switch out of their stadium. They're not trying to find an alternate place to have the final. They want to have it at their home because One Oak Field is one of the best atmospheres we have seen as well. They are selling out. They are looking at 8,000 seats, and I think that would be capacity for them. And it's going to be incredible. I think what you saw out of New Mexico, they looked good. They had Miguel Akale. Akale is a special talent that I'm going to be surprised if he is not sold to a bigger league sometime soon. He is just that special of a player. And he had his footprints, like his fingerprints all over this pitch, and it looked great. Meanwhile, you also had someone like Shakes, who's in the back line for them, who is taking over for former Atlanta United player mentioned, Tambakis, and he's looked good. I do think that he is the biggest question mark for New Mexico. He is giving up a lot of chances where he should be catching the ball, that he is just parrying the ball away. He's punching it away. He doesn't seem to have confidence in catching it at times, the box. That could cost them against someone like a Tulsa who has Kalira, who has someone like a Weber who's ready to pounce. But even so, it's going to be a great matchup between the two. New Mexico got pushed. They got absolutely pushed by Orange County, who finally showed that they are one of the better teams in the West. But they find a way to win at the lab, and it was incredible. Tulsa, them and Phoenix got into a we don't want to lose match for about 120 minutes. And then around 121, you have Lukic, who comes up from League One, gets his 6th goal from off the bench. And it's no cheapie either. Off the volley, curls one inside the near post, manages to beat the goalkeeper. I mean, that is not an easy goal to score. Do it. And this just kind of shows what Tulsa's been all year long, which is resilient, defensively solid, and they have the players in the attack to make magic happen.
And, when you've got the 1 and the 3 out west, is this one Tulsa's to lose, or how are you looking at this one? Because as competitive as these two teams are, is this going to be another 120-minute staring contest? Or are you actually looking at goals in the first 90? What are you staring at here?
I think the difference between Phoenix and New Mexico is that I think New Mexico is willing to take it to Tulsa a little bit. I think that while they have a fantastic back line, when you're looking, and I'm trying to pull up my notes really fast. When you're looking at a Glosser, you're looking at a Ryden, when you're looking at a Keller and a Maples, that is a great back line. You look at a Zico Bailey, who's playing in the defensive midfield, which everybody kind of remembers him as his wing back, and he's still great at that, but he's becoming this holding midfielder that has been really impressive. Same thing with Zellum. I think they have a back line they can rely on, but I think that they cannot rest on their defensive laurels the same way that Phoenix could. So I think they know that they're going to have to take the attack to Tulsa. Tulsa is going to know that, and they're going to try to counterattack and try to find holes in the back line, as they always do. I think this is a match that's going to be set up for at least one goal in the normal time. Now, it may end up being 1-1 going into penalties. I'm not expecting a 3-3 shootout, but even so, I do think we're going to see a little bit more attacking, a little bit more poking and prodding. Meanwhile, on the eastern side of this, Pittsburgh, Rhode Island, I would not be shocked if this thing goes 0-0 with both teams with only one shot on goal the entire match. I do think we have two different types of matchups happening, even if maybe the scoreline may not reflect it.
6:30 Eastern is Pittsburgh and Rhode Island in the Eastern Conference Final, and it is 8:30. I'm guessing they don't want to overlap them in case something happens and Pittsburgh and Rhode Island go for longer than 2 hours of TV time. They're both on the plus, but 6:30 and 8:30 Eastern, Pittsburgh, Rhode Island, FC Tulsa, New Mexico United, your conference finals in USL Championship. I can't let League One go without talking about the last game of the year coming up now in League One. It is One Knox and Spokane, and with Red Bulls getting bumped out in round number one, it's two of the top three teams squaring off in One Knox, and now Spokane has to go from one end of the planet to the other.
Yeah, you're looking at a Spokane team who had to really fight against a Portland squad where it looked like it was game, set, match when Luis Heel missed his first chance, missed his second chance, but he will never miss the third, and curls it into that far post off the volley. Not too dissimilar to Lukic's goal, actually. And then Portland fights their way back. They find it 2-2. They go into penalties. Spokane prevails. Meanwhile, One Knox had to survive a little bit. Naples was a great counterpunch to One Knox. And One Knox probably feels a little lucky, and Naples feels very hard done by with one of the clearest handballs I've seen in a long time not get called.
Mm-hmm.
And so what could be possibly 1-0 for Naples, or even 1-1 if you want to say Tequila's goal still stands. They go into extra time, they go into penalties, who knows what happens. But it's going to be really interesting. These are two teams that are built off their defense. They will let their defense stand on their heads all day long. The Spokane's going to come out in their 4-4-2, and they are just going to live and die by that thing. And more power to them. They are fantastic in the back line. Meanwhile, you're looking at a One Knox who they're going to come out in their 4-2-3-1. They have someone like a Ugly. They have a Skelton. They have a Richie. They have a Brown. They have a Sean Lewis who can absolutely stand on their head.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have someone who is Rosamilia. They have a Tequila. They have a DNA who is truly special players. Rosales is on the bench for them, if that tells you how good they've been. Meanwhile, you're again looking at Spokane, where I'm just going to read names at you because it's disgusting. Nico Brett up top, Luis Heel in the midfield, Pierre Reedy on the right side, Siobhan John Brown in the left side, Andre Lewis and Meredith Bryce in the holding midfield. And then their back line is Waldeck, Miller, Garcia, and Lucky Apara, with Marinaccio sitting in goal. Mm-hmm. They have an embarrassment of riches. Neil Vinyals is on the bench for them. Jack Denton on the bench for them. They have an embarrassment of riches, but One Knox has never lost at home.
Yep.
They have never lost at this new stadium, and they're going to ride a home crowd pretty hard. I think this is going to be a fascinating match because I think Spokane is going to go at One Knox. I think that they know that 2 goals wins this thing. But there's a part of me that hopes that both teams just go at each other and we just get an absolute shootout for the final, because it has the potential to do so. When I was looking at this match preseason, or we were looking at League One preseason,
right,
this is the final I wanted. These are two of the best teams. They looked like the best teams coming into the season on paper, and it's showing to be that the field sometimes is paper, right? And like they are showing that they are some of the best, and I'm excited.
It is on Golasso Network on Sunday, 5:00 Eastern time from Covenant Health Park in Knoxville. One Knox Spokane Velocity, your League One final. One other piece of news that I wanted to discuss with you before we get out of here has to do with the ongoing Texoma saga. Mm-hmm. And now it is, for those that may not know, Texoma was a part of the activity in USL League One. And then because of a couple of different factors, not happy with the stadium situation, and that being probably the biggest one, and just trying to find a home and get anchored there in Sherman, Ada, Ardmore, and Denison, they have dropped to League Two for next year. But the ownership group has now created a pathway where in a couple of seasons it is now going to be Rodeo SC in Salina, which is the same basic footprint there in North Texas, and it's on the Texas side of the Oklahoma border. But now they're bringing in Rodeo in a couple of years, Is Texoma now going to League Two? What when you and the other guys on the USL show were looking at this situation, what popped into your head with the addition of Rodeo and the self-demotion of Texoma?
I,
That
I
good,
don't know. This was all kind of leaked where we saw that they were planning to move stadiums. They're going to
yeah,
stay in
the Latin worded email that came out just as an
yes.
email blast that didn't say anything.
You and
Except
I both got that one. I
yeah,
mean, I think you and I actually talked about it about 15 minutes after the email was sent, and you asked me, "Did you also get said Latin email?" Yes.
did you get this?
Yes. And so this doesn't shock me.
Mhm,
I I think that this is metaphorical rake that the USL keeps stepping on,
mhm,
where they didn't vet this ownership group. They rushed them into the league, and now they got a year underneath their belts. One team drops down to League Two,
mhm.
which is fine. I mean, there's no issue with starting off in League Two. I mean, again, look at One Knox. It
Yeah,
works.
yeah,
Um, but then you're a Sarasota as well. But instead of saying, "Hey, cut your teeth for a couple years, figure out how to run a club," they just said, "Nah, you got money, welcome." And now they're just planning to leave and then come back, but they have a new name. It's the same team though. If anything, I think it's cool that the US soccer has expanded to having Phoenix clubs for the first time ever.
yeah.
Like, welcome to the big leagues, guys. Kinda. I don't know. This is just another metaphorical rake the USL keeps stepping on. And you look at this situation, you look at North Carolina SC or FC, and you say USLPA has just something else they can say, hey, vet these owners, and the players are hurting. The players keep getting screwed out of contracts. They keep getting screwed when it comes to building a life somewhere. These are not just people who are just kind of living their best bachelor life. They have families, they have wives, they have kids, and they're just being shoved around looking for job, looking for job, looking for job. And meanwhile, that ownership group gets to just come back. I mean, it's just, I think it's just something else that the USL has to look in the mirror and realize that this ain't sustainable for anybody.
Halftime in Qatar, U.S. and Czechia are goalless. What's up next for at the USL show and at Kaylor Hodges?
For at the USL show, we have Alex Ashton, who does League One Updater. He is going to be at the League One final. So we're going to get some updates from the USL show at the League One final. And we are also planning to head out to the USL Championship. And so I am personally rooting for Tulsa so I can drive and
There
not
you
have to
go.
worry about planes, because we all know
Yes.
what happens with me in planes.
Yeah.
So if I can just drive, that would be fantastic. However, I would love to go to Albuquerque, so I'm not going to complain either way. So that's what we're looking at. We're going to have a presence at both finals, which is going to be an absolute blast. And for me personally, I'm just going to enjoy the rest of this day off the best way I can, with it being 28 degrees outside.
Exactly. Right there with you. As always, my friend, great to catch up with you during the playoffs every single week. And we will catch up with you in some manner, way, shape, or form next week, knowing that you're kind of back to your normal behaviors and having to do band things and travel the planet with all that kind of stuff. Great to see you, my friend. Thanks for dropping by. We'll catch up with you next week.
See you soon.